So much to discuss as this trial winds down.
Yeah, joining us throughout the entire trial and again now today is entertainment attorney Lisa Bonner. Lisa, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we know the prosecution has begun their closing, but we never heard from his chief of staff, Christina. Why do you think that was, and what does that mean for their RICO case?
Well, that is a great question. And the reason that we never heard from Christina is because clearly the prosecution was not able to make a deal in order for her to testify under immunity. Also, it is really important to remember that Christina Kuram is named in 2 to 3 civil cases that are still pending no matter what. And so once Christina gives testimony in this case, if she were to give testimony in this case, that is on the record. So that could be used against her in the civil cases. So that's why we didn't hear from her. That's the only legal reason that I could understand that we didn't hear from her. And as far as the prosecution case goes, it is ideal to have more than one co-conspirator because people tend to think of RICO as an enterprise. But it is important to remember that you do not need to have named co-conspirators. In fact, R. Kelly did not have any named co-conspirators, and he was convicted on 1 count of RICO and is across the at the Eastern District of New York. So it's possible that they could convict him on that, but it would have been ideal, but I don't think it hurt.
Okay, so we talk offline all the time, and you have said from day one that the prosecution has already proven their case. But let's look at it for real now. Has this prosecution delivered everything they said they were going to show from the opening arguments?
I do believe that they have really talked about and hit on everything that they have said, except we never heard from victim number 3. However, victim number 3 was referenced once in the indictment, but there were no counts against the victim number 3. They did mention that. They did not deliver on that. So that is the one thing that they might be vulnerable on, in addition, if the defense tends to pick up on it, but I doubt that they will since it was never really mentioned. But that is the biggest thing. Again, it's going to come down to the closing arguments that they did today and the jury instructions in order to really clarify what he did, how he used his commercial resources, how he used alleged unindicted co-conspirators to further this enterprise and behavior of that sex trafficking.
You mentioned the closing arguments just moments ago. What do you think the defense's closing arguments will actually sound like?
That it's going to sound very much like these were Combs's girlfriends, while they might have had an unusual type of relationship and he might have had some sexual proclivities that may be a little unseemly. This does not rise to the level of using his enterprise, his companies, in furtherance of that sex trafficking. This was just a relationship gone bad between 2 people. There was no sex trafficking of them. And so I think that's going to be, they're going to use they're going to go through it, and they're going to use very pointed discussions to talk about that.
As Jasmine Simpkins said yesterday, a lot of FRICO, not a lot of RICO, is probably what the defense might say. Lisa Bonner, great to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.